Welcome back to Medrash Umaisa, sharing a story for this week's Parsha, Parshas Pekudei. Rav Don Segel Shlita, the famous Mashgiach, brings a story about Rav Elazar Menachem Shach, the great Rosh Yeshiva of Ponevezh, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. He said that one day, when he was already an older man, Rav Shach told family members that there was going to be a funeral in Haifa that he wanted to attend. A grandson arranged to take him, and it was a stormy day, cold, rainy, windy. They arrived in Haifa, and the grandson was expecting to come to the levaya of a Rosh Yeshiva, of a Rav, a Talmud Chacham. It turned out to be the funeral of an elderly widow who had no family members. They were barely able to scrape together a minyan for the funeral. Rav Shach was present. He said Kaddish. He accompanied the Mita to the cemetery. He stood by the Kavura in the whipping wind and the pouring rain. And then, after the Kavura was finished, the burial was finished, and the Chaver Kaddish and everyone left, Rav Shach kept standing there, getting soaked, and with the wind whipping him. His grandson said, Zaidi, we can come into the car. He didn't respond. He kept standing there. Eventually, after a while, he turned around and he said, okay, now we can go. He said, I'll explain to you who this woman was. He says, in one of the first yeshivas I learned in, like was the case in many small yeshivas then, the learning was done in the shul, in town, and we, the Bachrim, the Talmidim, slept on the benches in shul. In the winter, they wouldn't heat the shul at night, and it was incredibly cold, and we didn't even have blankets. Not to mention that we didn't really have that much nourishing food. So we would lie there shaking in the cold, trying to sleep, but it was so hard. In the middle of that winter, I got a letter from an uncle. This uncle wrote to me, says, I've heard that the conditions in your yeshiva are very difficult. I, Baruch Hashem, have a successful factory, a successful business. Why don't you come and join me? I'll teach you the business. I'll let you have part of it for your own to run. You'll be able to live like a mensch, like a person should. So Rav Shach says, originally he just ignored that letter. He put it aside. But he said, then there was one Thursday night, and he was so cold, and he just couldn't sleep, and he was shaking, and he decided, I think I have to go to join my uncle. I can't do this anymore. Friday morning, the next morning, a woman walked in. She was a widow whose husband had passed away, and she decided she wanted to go move to Eretz Yisrael. She was selling or giving away the different things that were in her house, and she had some old, raggy, threadbare blankets that were in her house that she brought to the yeshiva. The Rosh Yeshiva gave the young Elazar Menachem man one of these blankets, and he said that Leil Shabbos, he wrapped up in this blanket. It didn't matter that it was threadbare and had holes in it, etc. He said he felt so warm and so comforted, and he was able to sleep so well, he decided that he was going to change his plan and stay on in yeshiva. He told his grandson, all of my Torah, all of your Torah and the Torah of your Talmid and my Talmidim that they got from me, all comes from that woman and that blanket that she gave me. His grandson said, I understand now why you came to the funeral, but why did you keep standing there in the freezing cold after it was over? Rav Shach said, because I wanted to get soaked through and to freeze and to shake like I did back then, so that I would be able to remember and truly have hakaras hatov, truly have the appreciation for what this woman and her blanket did for me. This week's Parsha, Parshas Pekudei, we have that final Parsha about the setting up of the Mishkan. The Mishkan is called, David HaMelech called it Beis HaYerios. It really was surrounded and made up of different curtains. It was a beautiful structure, but it wasn't something that strong and elaborate, so to speak. Yet those curtains contained everything. Contained the Hashras HaShechina, the presence of the Shechina in the world, contained the Torah and the Luchos. A small bit of cloth can contain an infinity of ruchnius, of Torah and spirituality, that can go on and on for generations. That was what he taught his grandson, and that is what we learn as well. Wishing everyone a wonderful, peaceful Shabbos. May Am Yisrael all be comforted in every way possible. Kol Tuv.